Hello and welcome to English for You. I'm Seb.
I'm Mike.
So, Mike, are you happy at your job?
Yeah, generally.
Heavy question to start.
Most days. Yeah, I guess I've had worse jobs in my life, that's for sure. How about you?
I'm pretty happy.
Good.
You know,
it's important.
Yeah, we work in quite an open-minded office.
That's nice.
Okay. But some people aren't that lucky, are they? There's offices which can be very closed-minded.
That's true.
With respect to lots of different things.
That's true.
Yeah.
We've been seeing that in the newspapers more about bosses who treat men and women differently.
Right.
Or treat people differently based on their color or sexuality. And, you know, some of those stories that you hear are just terrible.
They are terrible.
These bosses with lots of power who just treat people really, really badly.
Right.
And that's not right.
And gender equality is a big one, right?
That's probably the biggest one, or at least the one that's been a problem for the longest.
Yes. Yeah. So gender equality, by the way, is treating men and women differently because you think one is better than the other. Now, normally it's people who think that men are better than women.
Generally,
you don't get so many cases of men being treated badly.
No, that's true. This is, the kind of thing like, oh, we'll pay a man this much money to do the job, but a woman a little bit less. Well, why do you pay the woman less? Well, because the man has to buy things for his family. The woman just has to buy makeup and shoes.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thinking, which of course is not true.
It's very old-fashioned.
More important,
very insulting.
It's not fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have the glass ceiling as well. That's the 玻璃天花板. That's an expression that we use to mean when a company might have the same number of men and women working there, but for some reason, all of the bosses are men. All the women seem to get stuck at the bottom or in the middle of the company, and the bosses are men.
There you go. So, look at most of the big companies, both in Taiwan and around the world, and I think 90% of them have men as the CEO? Are you saying women can't do it? No, they can, but that's where the glass ceiling. So the woman can, rise up to be a manager, a general manager, even a vice president, but to have that top job, it's very difficult.
Seems to be not allowed for some reason. Anyway, we are going to be looking at a news story today about one group of people in Japan who are hoping to bring about some changes with regards to that. So let's get started.
すごい.
Reading.
Coup 2 brings attention to sexist rules in Japan's offices. Japanese women have started a movement to end the practice of having to wear high heels at work. Office culture in Japan dictates that people dress formally for work. While both men and women often wear suits, only women are required to wear high heels. However, high heels are not just uncomfortable to wear, but possibly also damaging to people's health. Actress Yumi Ishikawa, who believes this practice is sexist, started the Coup 2 campaign against it. The clever name comes from kutsu and kutsu, the Japanese words for shoe and pain, as well as the Me Too movement. Ishikawa also created a petition to persuade the government to stop employers from requiring women to wear high heels. Now, more than 17,000 people have signed it. In response, many people around the world have expressed surprise and shock over this practice. However, the government hasn't yet responded to Ishikawa's petition. Only time will tell if a new law stopping this practice will be put in place.
Okay, so our article today is called Coup 2 brings attention to sexist rules in Japan's offices. And it starts like this. Japanese women have started a movement to end the practice of having to wear high heels at work. Now, they've started a movement. We're not talking about moving around here. We're talking about a political movement or a social movement. So they're trying to create a change in the way things are done. And what is that change about? Well, high heels, which are shoes where the back of the shoe is much higher than the toe or the front of the shoe. So this is interesting. But Tell us a little bit more about this, Mike. What is going on?
This is kind of about what it's like to work in Japan as a woman. It says office culture in Japan dictates that people dress formally for work. Yeah, if you've ever been to Japan and been on the subway, say in the morning on a working day, you notice people there dress a little more formally, a little more nicely. You know, you won't see people going to work in an office wearing blue jeans or running shoes. The men wear suits, the women wear skirts and dresses. The men have, you know, nice leather shoes and the women have high heel shoes. This is kind of what we talk about when we say dressing formally, not like you dress on the weekend, like you might dress for a nice dinner or a wedding or something like that. You know, we also call it they dress up.
Yes, right. And the office culture in Japan dictates that they must dress this way. So dictate, by the way, is a verb. And when a rule dictates something, it clearly says that something must or must not happen. We usually use dictate in more formal writing. So, for example, if I say, the law in this country dictates that people under the age of 21 cannot enter bars, that means that the law says they absolutely must not enter bars if they are under the age of 21.
That's what the rule says.
That's what it says. It's a very strong word, dictate.
All right. Yes, and we have that other word, formally. They dress formally. This is in a dressed-up style, and a style that you kind of do when it's a special occasion. We can do other things formally, too. If you speak formally, right, you might say, hello, sir, how are you doing? If you're speaking informally or casually, like with your friends, hey, man, what's up?
Sup?
You know, you would not do that if you're meeting the president
or the
queen or going in for a job interview with a big boss or something like that. So formally is for special occasions, when you're showing off your good manners, when there are certain rules of accepted things and things that are not okay. If you do it in the formal way, it's a little bit safer because no one will say, hey, you can't do that here.
You're not polite.
You
have no respect.
For example, we could say the mayor of the city spoke formally when she gave a speech in front of the Queen. Yeah, because, you know, the Queen's there.
The Queen is there. You must be formal.
That's right. You don't talk like you're just hanging out with your friends.
Yes, you can't be like, bro. Anyway.
Hey, babe.
Hey, babe. Our next line of the article is, while both men and women often wear skirts, only women... Suits. While men and women often wear suits, only women are required to wear high heels. If men want to wear skirts, by the way, that's their decision. But normally, men and women often wear suits.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is this rule about the high heels, though?
Well, it says, however, so women, you know, if you go to a job in Japan and you're a woman and you don't have high heels on, your boss might say, hey, why are you wearing those shoes? It says, though, there's a problem with that. However, high heels are not just uncomfortable to wear, but possibly also damaging to people's health.
Right, they're bad for their backs.
Wow,
interesting. Damage your spine.
Yeah, especially, I guess, if you're standing up in your job. You know, if you're a waitress or work in a bank or, you know, work at a department store or somewhere like that, if you're standing. So they're uncomfortable. If you've ever worn high heels, and I've worn them a couple of times, they're not the kind of thing you'd wear on a hike. They're not the kind of thing you'd wear walking around a city as a tourist because they're not so comfortable. And as Seb pointed out, they can hurt your back. They can probably hurt your neck, your hips, you know, all sorts of things. This, of course, is if you wear them every day for many years as part of your job.
Which you would, if you had to wear it to work.
There you go.
So some people in Japan have some opinions about this. The article says that actress Yumi Ishikawa, who believes this practice is sexist, started the Coup 2 campaign against it.
Interesting.
Okay, so she believes this practice is sexist. Now, sexist is an adjective, and we use sexist to describe any behavior, practice, or person who treats people differently because of their sex or gender. Almost always, sexism is directed at girls or women. And as we were saying earlier, it is a big issue around the world. So Ishikawa is saying that This rule is sexist because it believes that only women should have to present themselves in this attractive way.
They never ask men to wear high heel shoes.
Men don't need to be pretty.
There you go. Interesting. So this is a campaign that this Japanese actress has started. Earlier, we had this word movement, right? Some women started a movement at the beginning of the article. Here they've started a campaign. Same kind of idea, all right?
Yes.
This is something where a big group of people say, hey, we don't like this. We think this is not fair or wrong or bad. We want to change it. And they organize and they talk and they share information and maybe they have meetings and speeches. And, you know, eventually if you get more and more and more people to join in, you can probably make a change. You can get attention from politicians. There was a campaign here recently that was successful to get gay marriage made legal. And that followed a similar campaign in the U.S. over the past few years and in other countries too. So it starts with a few people and then they talk to other people and those people say, hey, you're right. I'm going to help you. So that's what a campaign is. It's an organized series of activities to reach some kind of goal or some kind of change that they want.
So what do we know about the campaign name?
Coup2. Yeah, we also might say hashtag Coup2, right? That little symbol in front of the K, that's a hashtag. And it says, the clever name comes from kutsu and kutsu, the Japanese words for shoe, kutsu, and pain, kutsu, as well as the hashtag or just the Me Too movement. So, right. You might have heard of this Me Too movement. This started 2 or 3 years ago in America. Women were complaining that their bosses and other people treat them badly, you know, make them feel uncomfortable just because they're women. And so one woman kind of wrote about it on the internet and other women said, yeah, me too. I had the same experience. So it was showing you that many women, not just, you know, some women you don't know, but your mom, your sister, women you work with, even your wife or whatever, they had similar bad experiences. So me too. That happened to me too. So here, coup2, you see, they're using the coup from these Japanese words and the two from Me Too. So it just sounds the same.
It's clever.
It's
what
clever.
It is. Clever.
And it makes people think of the American Me Too as well.
And clever, by the way, is an adjective. So when an object or a plan is clever, it is done or made in an interesting or unusual way that is very effective. So as we were just saying, the name of the coup2 movement is clever because it's very easy to remember.
Right.
And it contains the meaning of what it is because we have the words pain and shoe in there.
That's so clever.
I know. So we hear it, we remember it, and we know what it's about.
Right.
So likewise, I'm in a department store and a salesperson manages to convince me to buy a really expensive suit, even though I didn't want to spend any money.
So why did you spend the money?
Well, he used a clever approach. So maybe he flattered me. Maybe he said, if you buy this, I'll give you this free perfume, or I'll give you this discount for another purchase in the future. He used a clever approach, an interesting and different approach to convince me to spend money. So we've got an example sentence here for clever. The comedian answered the question with a clever joke. Okay, so maybe they were going to ask him a serious question about his marriage, and he comes back with some kind of funny thing that nobody was expecting.
Interesting.
A clever joke. No one was expecting it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got, moving on with the article, Ishikawa also created a petition to persuade the government to stop employers from requiring women to wear high heels. Okay, a lot of big words in that sentence.
There you go. Yeah. Well, a petition is often part of a campaign or a movement. A petition is, at the simplest level, a piece of paper, and maybe at the top of the paper you write, we all think that women shouldn't have to wear high heels.
Or a good one we had in the UK was, we all made a petition to ban Donald Trump from entering the UK.
Okay, so you write, we don't think Donald Trump should come to our country because he's a crazy orange man.
Yes.
And then you put your name on it, and then you go to other people, and more people, and more people, and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people all read it and say, yeah, I agree. I'm going to write my name down too. That's a petition. And then once you have thousands of people's names, all people showing that they agree, then you take that and give it to a politician or a leader and say, see, it's not just me. There's thousands of people. All their names are here. I'm showing you that this is not just one or two people, but many, many people agree. So that's what a petition is. And it's a good way of showing there's a lot of support for a certain idea.
Which makes it easy to persuade people to do something different.
It makes it hard to ignore those people.
Right. It makes it hard to ignore them because we're persuading them. We're using a verb there. And when we persuade someone to do something, we use words or encouragement to get them to do something that they might not want to do. So in my earlier example, when I was talking about the salesperson, he actually persuaded me to buy the suit. Or talking about the campaign you were talking about earlier, gay marriage in Taiwan, the people persuaded the government to do something about marriage equality. So another word we could use which is similar to persuade is convince. We could say John wasn't going to take his jacket with him, but his mum convinced him, or she persuaded him that it would be a good idea to do so. Or a stronger one, we could say force. Now, force is when we're making someone do something that they don't want to do, even if they still don't want to do it. So John wanted to go out, but his mum forced him to stay home and study. That one is less of a happy sentence. And we got one last example sentence here back for persuade again. Ezekiel tried hard, but he couldn't persuade his brother to lend him his car. Okay. Powers of persuasion.
There you go. So if you persuade, you make someone think it's a good idea. If you force, you tell them if you don't do it, there will be big trouble. So
I have a gun.
It's a little bit nicer to persuade, of course, if you can. And what were they trying to do? They're trying to persuade the government to stop employers from requiring women to wear high heels. We'll talk about employers later, but those are basically bosses, people who give you the jobs, and also the people who set the rules for what you wear to your job, right? They wanted to stop these people, these bosses, from requiring women to wear high heels. If you stop someone from doing something, you could also say prevent them from doing something, keep them from doing something. You're basically saying, no, you can't do that. We have laws to prevent people from doing things. If you do that, the police will catch you. You'll get in big trouble. We have safety measures to do things. We put locks on doors to prevent people from stealing things, or lights on street corners to prevent people from just driving through and causing accidents. So when you prevent or stop or keep somebody or something from doing something, you're generally trying to stop a bad action from happening, trying to keep things safe. For example, the expensive painting is now locked behind glass to prevent it from being stolen. It's probably a very famous and expensive painting. You don't want people to steal it, so you have to stop them.
Yes, it being stolen would be bad, just like employers requiring women to wear high heels. Now, employers, that's a noun. An employer is someone who hires us to do a job, like you said, like a boss. And that could be someone who interviews us when we're applying, or it could be the person who works directly above us. So the opposite of an employer, by the way, is an employee. Very easy change there. Just take the last R and turn it into an E. And you have the person who works under the employer. So the employer is above and the employee is below. Another word for an employer we could use as well is a manager. So that would be a little bit like a 主管. Our example sentence for employer is Gwendolyn's employer gave her a pay rise and a promotion as a reward for her good work.
Oh, that's a nice boss,
It is a nice
manager.
boss. I would like a pay rise.
That would be great. All right, let's get back to this petition that the actress started. So she started this petition. She said, I don't think bosses should make women wear high heels. She signed her name on it, and then she went around, and how did she do? It says now more than 17,000 people have signed it. So this is more than just her friends and family. These are strangers out there in Japan who all heard about it, probably went online and wrote their name and their email and said, I agree. I think we should also do this. So that's a pretty strong showing.
It is a strong stirring. And in response, many people around the world have expressed surprise and shock over this practice. It is a surprising practice. And their response has been full of surprise and shock. Response, by the way, is a noun, and a response is the words or actions that we use to react to something. So if I asked Mike how his weekend was with his wife, and he starts shouting about cancelled plans and bad traffic and had an argument, then that would be an angry response. However, if I ask him the same question and he says,
wonderful.
Oh, we had the best weekend.
Best time.
Yes, he would be giving me a happy response. So there are lots of different adjectives we can use with response.
What if I just went,
Well, you could have an indifferent response.
Apathetic.
Yes, apathetic. Or if he was very excited, an enthusiastic response or an emotional response sometimes. Okay, our example sentence for response, though, is the police officers asked the man if he had committed the crime, but he gave no response. So there, he wasn't saying anything back.
He didn't get angry, he didn't cry, nothing.
No response.
Silence.
No response.
Interesting. All right. So now a lot of people heard about the petition, heard about coup 2, heard about the rules that Japanese women have to wear these high heels. And people around the world in other countries were surprised. Like, really? This is the 21st century. This is not, 50 years ago. So they were surprised and they showed how they felt. That is to express. It's a verb. And basically, if you tell people what you think, if you tell people how you feel, or something like that, you're expressing something. Even basically, if you just talk, you're expressing something. But generally, you're showing off how you feel about something, what you think about something, your opinion of something.
Right.
You're trying to show, in a way, that your feelings, what your feelings are. For example, here's a gift to express how grateful we are for your help. I could stand here and talk for 5 minutes saying, thank you, it was so great, you're so wonderful, we couldn't have done it without you. Or I can just buy you a gift and say, thank you for your help.
And express that.
Then I'm getting my feelings across in a different way.
So, expressions and responses. What has the government done? Well, the article says, however, the government hasn't yet responded to Ishikawa's petition.
Boo.
That's at the time of recording.
Okay.
You guys should go on Google now and find out if they've responded since we recorded this episode. I hope they have.
All right.
Anyway, the article continues, only time will tell if a new law stopping this practice will be put in place.
Yeah, Seb, explain. Now, this is when we recorded this article. Nothing's changed. But in the future, after time goes by, after the politicians get more chances to think about it, and maybe more women call up or write and say, yeah, this is terrible, we got to change this, things could change in the future. So we use this expression, only time will tell, by saying that's the way it is now, but expect something to change. Don't be surprised if in the future things are different.
And I think we have more information about this on our Pocket Phrase Go, so let's go through to that now.
Cool.
Pocket Phrase Go!
我阿拉丁可不是只靠着神灯才当上王子的哦，我呢非常聪明，也很努力，而且呢心地善良，才得到国王跟公主的赏识。有些人质疑我，你一个小穷人怎么可以当王子啊？有没有能力？哎呀，我不会生气哦。听到这些话呢，我总是跟他们说 ，Only time will tell， 只有时间呢能证明我有没有能力咯。Only time will tell 这一句呢，就表示这件事呢是要假以时日才能看出来的。例如呢，我想减肥了，于是呢买了健身房的课程，我到底能不能成功呢 ？Only time will tell whether I made the right decision。交这一大笔钱有没有用呢？假以时日才能知道咯。
Okay, so we have one more phrase now, and it's in place. So just to go over that line again, this practice will be put in place. Now, when we put a law in place, we pass it and we make it work so that people have to follow it. So if you're watching the news and you hear that a new pollution law has been put in place, that means that there is a new law that is in some relation to, some way related to pollution, and it is now working. So maybe we can't drive cars on Thursdays. But as for the article, they are saying that it is not yet certain if a law stopping this sexist practice will actually be made or not. But if it is, let's hope that it is put in place quickly.
Okay.
Right, that is all the time we have to discuss Q2 for now. But like I said, you guys should go on Google. You should find out what's happened since this article. But we have just enough time to go to our For You chat questions. So let's check that out now.
For You chat.
So, our question for today is very closely related to the article, isn't it? It is, what is your opinion of a rule that requires women to wear high heels? Please explain.
I think it's great. As long as there's a rule that requires men to wear high heels too.
Yes, the men should wear the heels too.
And the men would say, no way, I'm not wearing those, so then women shouldn't have to wear. The only way I can see it's important is if you're a model at a shoe fashion show. You know, if you're actually modeling for a company that makes high heel shoes, you should have to wear the high heel shoes.
Because your job is to wear the shoes.
Because your job is to wear the shoes. But if you're a waitress or a secretary or selling perfume in a department store or a flight attendant,
wear something comfy. Or wear whatever you want. Don't wear any shoes at all.
I don't think that's a good rule.
It's down to you.
I can't think of a reason why they should have to, unless they're just selling the shoes.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
I mean, my opinion is it would be nice if we had a woman in this room to ask her what she thinks. But maybe you can ask your teacher or your classmates now if they have an opinion about wearing high heels at work. I'm sure no one's going to come out and say that they think they should be wearing high heels at work. But there's a lot to talk about with that issue.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I know some women who like to wear high heels, but have to wear them all the time. I don't think anyone would like that.
I don't think people like being told what to do.
No, definitely not, especially if it hurts their feet.
Exactly. Okay, so you guys can talk about a little bit more about that now, but for me and Mike, it is time to go. So for English for You, I'm Seb.
I'm Mike.
And we'll see you next time.
Q2 brings attention to sexist rules in Japan's offices. Japanese women have started a movement to end the practice of having to wear high heels at work. Office culture in Japan dictates that people dress formally for work. While both men and women often wear suits, only women are required to wear high heels. However, high heels are not just uncomfortable to wear, but possibly also damaging to people's health. Actress Yumi Ishikawa, who believes this practice is sexist, started the Q2 campaign against it. The clever name comes from kutsu and kutsu, the Japanese words for shoe and pain, as well as the Me Too movement. Ishikawa also created a petition to persuade the government to stop employers from requiring women to wear high heels. Now, more than 17,000 people have signed it. In response, many people around the world have expressed surprise and shock over this practice. However, the government hasn't yet responded to Ishikawa's petition. Only time will tell if a new law stopping this practice will be put in place.
Vocabulary Review.
Formally. The servant spoke to the Queen of England formally, calling her ma'am. Clever. The teacher was pleased that Jack solved this difficult math problem in a clever new way. Persuade. Tim planned to meet his friends for a drink, but his girlfriend persuaded him to stay home instead. Employer. The workers refused to come back to the office after their employers did not pay them on time. Response. The government's response to the movement was to pass a new law about climate change. Express. The villagers expressed great joy when they heard that the festival would go on for another week.
智慧小补帖
Dictate. Sexist. Campaign. Petition.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net